Greetings, this is Russ Anderson. Here I've got a stereo shot and I'm going to show how to do object tracking, in fact automated object tracking of this shot. You notice this is the shot that we've already aligned in one of the previous tutorials, so we have properly aligned footage to start with. Now, a lot of shots like this, when you have object mode tracking, is typically done using supervised tracking, but when the situation permits it, you can do automatic object tracking as well. And the thing that makes this particularly amenable to automated tracking is the fact that the trash can that we're going to track is fairly large and takes up a good portion of the frame. And this is a full res HD frame, so we have a fair amount of data available. So in order to do automatic tracking, we need to set up the segmentation to say what goes with what. And we're going to start out by doing a roto setup using the Roto Key facilities inside of SynthEyes. So I'm just starting up doing that now. And this is just going to be a very, very rough process. And I'm starting out by just setting up a garbage mat basically to mask out our actor, and you notice we're taking out the trash can too, so this is just kind of the first step. So if I scroll through that, you can see that's a reasonable mat in the first place. And now we'll add a second region, and this is going to be for the object itself. Now, one thing I need to do here is now I go and do an add moving object, and it's going to be a stereo moving object. So that's now on the shot list there. And the key thing I'm going to do is now tell it that this last spline that I added should be assigned to that moving object. So now I've got, well, still need a little more work on that actually. In just a second. There, we've got some basic matting set up so that basically the area up here where the actor is will not be used at all. That's just the garbage area, and the inner area here will be assigned, trackers in that area will be assigned to the moving object. Everything else on the outside, inside this outermost spline, will get assigned to the camera. So we've done that now for the left camera, and now we need to go and do the same thing for the right camera. So let's just whip through and do that again. You notice that I'm using the rotation and scaling key marker to make it easier to reposition this spline at the end of the shot. And if I needed to, I could add more keys in the middle or change the shape or whatever. This is just reasonably straightforward. And now I'll add another one again for the trash can itself. There we go with our basic setup, and again I'll assign this one now to the right object. So now we have our basic instruction setup to tell SynthEyes what goes with what. So now we can go and run the auto tracker, and we'll just set up our mode later. It's going to be a stereo mode. So SynthEyes is now going and creating the trackers and assigning them to the various objects. Now, on the panel here, we're going to show only the trackers associated with the selected object. So right now we're set up to show just the trackers associated with the left object, and you'll see that there are a bunch of trackers down here on the wheel. So we need to get rid of those. They're spinning around. It's done a nice job tracking them, but those aren't really going to be too helpful. Of course, I could have set up yet another little roto-spline to sit on top of the wheel, but that would have been a little bit of overkill. Sometimes the delete key is just fastest. So you can just go and you'll see that it's deleted both the left and the right versions here. So it looks like we've got all of those. And correspondingly, we need to make sure that we don't have anything that's on the actor that's assigned to the camera. And so it looks like we've done okay there. And just to start out with, we're going to go and shut down the solving on the moving object. And because basically the camera solve is always going to be a more robust process. So we're going to get that nailed down first. We'll also set up a stereo constraint just for starters on the interocular distance to 1 unit. That's arbitrary. And now we're ready to start with the solve. So we've got a basic start at the solve on the camera. And we're just going to go and look at some things that look on the face of it to be kind of out of position, and we're going to take those out. We're going to just set the solver to refine after we've taken those away. And some of these are probably things that are moving around a little, or perhaps that have been miscorrelated between the left and the right images. So there are a bunch of things normally you want to take a careful look at. We're just going to wing through this fairly quickly. We'll also go, and now we'll just make the constraint on the cameras a little more tight here, just to get a very cleanly defined stereo pair. You notice the camera is actually very close to nodal camera motion here. The shot wouldn't be doable if we were doing just a single camera, but here we've got the stereo, so that lets us get it even though this is just a handheld shot and the camera's only moved a couple of inches probably during the course of this motion. So now we've got the basic camera track. So let's go and start looking at the object track as well. And we'll just repeat the same process of looking for things that look like probably they're a bit out of place. And again, normally you should take a more careful look at what the situation is. And, you know, especially if there aren't very many trackers, you often need to go and, you know, salvage those things and, you know, repair whatever the issue is. But here, we'll just hit the delete. So now we have got our two different sets of things. I'm just turning off the only trackers mode. So now you can see the set of trackers associated with the object moving through the other ones. And so now we've got kind of a big jumble of points. So now it's time to start thinking about setting up a little coordinate system for all of this. So we're set up in a right camera dominant mode, so we set up the camera coordinate system on the right camera. So let's just go and grab a couple of points to do that. So now we've got a basic ground plane set up, and you notice the moving object is still sitting down here because we haven't set up any coordinate system for it. You always need to set up a coordinate system for both the camera and for the object. Those are two different things, and you need to have both of them. So again, we need to be on the right camera to do that. And let's just look at what we've got here. We'll just pick out some kind of very quick and dirty things. Use these two as an x-axis, and here's a plane. Good. Now here's one of the things I wanted to show. You just see now that after that last refine stage, it's turned out that the camera is upside down, and that's because the coordinate system is pretty ambiguous when you've got these stereo setups where the interocular distance is effectively setting up part of the coordinate system. But this is easy enough to fix, and the issue here is we're trying to set up a ground plane, and this one point here is actually having a negative y-axis value. You know, that it's basically towards the camera instead of away from the camera. And both of the solutions are correct. This is a perfectly good interpretation of the coordinate system. There are always these two different solutions when you've got an interocular distance. And we just need to tell it which one. So I'm just going to click and tell it that we want that y-axis value to be positive. So now when I go and refine the solution, it's going to go and make that positive, and that gets us the camera placement that we have in mind. And now you see we've got kind of our object is moving along through space there. We've got the camera moving, and we're sort of in a position to go and investigate further. Generally always before you final a shot, but we're in the right ballpark there, and we've got our object moving along, you know, down the driveway, and we've based that all on an automatic solve. So thanks a lot. Take care.